Broadcasting from beautiful downtown Tallahassee, it's Nantan Lupan.
My name is John, and you can find the show on iTunes by searching for classic movie reviews and then looking for The Wolf. We have links in the podcast notes and at snarkymoviereviews.com for Twitter, Facebook, and Stitcher. We appreciate your support. Now enjoy the show. For episode 32, I've got a great little movie. I'm afraid it may be a little short, as the star power in this one was somewhat underwhelming. We are following the Lisa Montell line from episode 28, World Without End, 1956. Of course, today's movie is the cult classic Daughter of the Sun God, 1962. Originally filmed in 1952, but it had so many problems, it took 10 years to get released. I chose this film because of Lisa Montell, and it turned out to be a nice little ethnographic film showing indigenous Peruvian people. The background scenery is nice. Of course, the biggest star of this movie is Lisa Montell, who had 46 television and movie credits. Montell played the role of Christine Mitchell. I profiled Montell in episode 28, World Without End, 1956. William Holmes was cast in the role of American author Kent Griffin. Since Holmes wanted to be an actor, his daddy picked up the bill for him to star in this role. However, since it took 10 years for the film to be released, Holmes had already left the acting business. Harry Knapp played archaeologist Dr. Howard Knapp. Knapp was only in one other movie, Manhunt in the Jungle, 1958. Juanita Los, who played the sun goddess, was only in this one movie. Al Bello, who I assume played Bello, but I will refer to him as Henchman with the Bad Teeth. IMDb says he was in the District 2000, and that's a long time between roles. Story. The movie began with Christine Mitchell, Lisa Montell, and Kent Griffin, Bill Holmes, walking across the desert. Kent is telling the story of how it all began in flashback mode. Kent is in Lima, Peru to cover the International Festival for an American magazine. Kent is walking through a museum looking at Inca gold objects and learning about Padre Mitchell. The Padre traveled among the Inca until he was killed on his return trip, leaving only a map and a gold statue. Suddenly, a mysterious woman drops a card into his coat pocket. Kent calls the mystery woman, and Christine walks from a steaming shower to answer the phone. They set up a meeting at his place because it will be safer. When she arrives, Christine explains that she is the niece of Padre Mitchell and that a man brought a map and a diary to be translated. When she did the work, she realized it was a coded map to the golden city of the Inca. Bello, the bad-teethed henchman, robs the waiter of his jacket and goes into the room to see what Christine and Kent are up to. He leaves without causing any trouble. Kent asks Christine why she doesn't go to the police, and isn't she stealing from her employer? She gives two answers. She can't go to the police without more evidence, and the treasure of the Incas belong in a museum.
Treasures that belong to history and Peru.
Not to the Inca themselves. But that is what Indiana Jones said 30 years later. Christine convinces Kent that he will get a great book out of the deal. So she makes arrangements to get him the hidden material. When she leaves her house, she is wearing 4-inch heels. Bad Teeth is outside, and he eventually begins chasing her. She does a pretty good heel sprint. She manages to beat old Bad Teeth across the park and jumps into a taxi. Bello and a fat man in a white suit are in hot pursuit. Christine makes it to the beach and does some pretty fair sand heel running until she gets to Kent. Kent takes the material and has Christine walk right between the men that have been chasing her.
I want you to walk toward them. Go right in between them.
I don't care about me, Kent. What about you? They'll kill you unless...
Unless what?
Unless you give them the map. I know that's what they want.
But what they're going to get's another thing. Now do as I say.
They let her go. At this point, Kent goes all James Bond, kicking and punching and evading. Finally, they chase him onto a ship, where in the fight, the fat man gets tossed over and killed. This ends the chase. Sometime later, Kent goes back to the beach club with a small bandage above his eye. He meets with famed archaeologist Dr. Howard Knapp, played by Harry Knapp. He uses odd phrasing that Knapp is considered to be a top archaeologist in the field.
You're considered one of the top archaeologists and a specialist in Inca history.
I took umbrage with considered. Are or are not. One of the exterior shots shows men surfing on 20-foot-long, 2-foot-wide surfboards on 2-foot waves. It's worth watching this movie just to see some ancient surfing technology. Howard has read the diary and agrees to leave on the trip, but Kent keeps the map to himself. Howard makes an interesting statement when he says finding the city is worth any risk. They decide to leave the city the day after tomorrow. The three start trekking across the jungle. In kind of an Eve-inspired bit, Christina acts with both nice and not-so-nice animals. She talks to the birds and stuff like that. At one point, she is bathing in what looks like the most crocodile-infested lake in South America, and a monkey steals her bra. The men are bathing in another part of the lake, and Kent has the map strapped to his chest. Christine and Howard are growing closer. This is natural, as all the girls love archaeologists. Howard keeps asking about the original owner of the map and the diary. As the group continues to travel through the jungle, they come upon an Indian that is being crushed by an anaconda. Kent gets ready to shoot, but Howard says that is how they treat adultery in the jungle. This is kind of foreshadowing for the growing relationship between Christine and Howard. Christine is hanging out with some birds when they all go quiet and the monkey runs away. A mountain lion comes up and Kent covers her mouth. When she passes out, she thanks Howard instead of Kent for saving her. Kent gets all butthurt. He basically calls her a slut and she slaps him in the face.
I don't get it, Christine. Howard calling you darling, dear. What gives?
I'm past 21. You know a girl has a right.
Sure, a girl's got a right to throw herself at any man, just as you've been doing for weeks. I'm not exactly an idiot when it comes to women. The ones I hate most are girls like you, holding onto a prayer book in the daytime, but once it gets dark...
The group sees some Spanish girls playing in the river. They watch until it becomes awkward. Later that night, the trio is camping when Spanish riders come in and disarm them with bolos. They work everything out and end up staying for a 3-day festival. Howard keeps working the pair, trying to drive a wedge between them and get the map. After 3 days of feasting, the pair figure out that Howard is trying to drive a wedge between them. Kent and Christine get all kissy-face and come back to the village all happy. When they get there, Howard and Old Bad Teeth are waiting with guns. Howard takes the map and leaves Kent and Christine with Bello. Wait, the archaeologist is the bad guy? What kind of story is this? Howard reveals that he is the one that hired her to translate the diary and the map. Howard tells Bello to kill Kent like he did Padre Mitchell, but for some reason Bad Teeth has him sit down while he finishes his card game and makes doe eyes at Christine.
Bello likes you, Christine. He thinks you're pretty.
Kent keeps lighting cigarettes from a kerosene lamp until Old Bad Teeth relaxes. He then splashes his face with fire. Kent and Christine get horses and ride into the desert. After a bit, the horses can't take it anymore, and Kent has to shoot them. So there they are at the point where the movie began, on foot in the desert. The pair makes it to the City of Gold just before they die. It appears deserted at first, but then they are completely surrounded by Inca warriors. I'm not sure which one was the most ferocious, the one with the llama on his shield or the one with the Tinkerbell wand. But it is some good scenes of some native-made spears and some obsidian axes, so it's well worth the watch. The queen is carried out on her palanquin, and she has a chained mountain lion at the front of her column. I'm pretty sure it's the same one from the jungle scene. The sun goddess is rocking hot and has kind of an Egyptian thing going.
She's beautiful.
She must be a princess of the royal Inca family.
If only we could talk to her, warn her of the danger. I speak the language of the strangers. My name is Luana. I am of the family of Atahualpa.
She speaks fluent English and knows Padre Mitchell. Kent tells the story of the bad archaeologist, and for some reason, the sun goddess turns her entire army over to Kent. They again make the city look deserted and head out to attack the archaeologist and his Spanish allies. They knock off the sentries one at a time, and then just before the attack, one of the Incas dives onto the stacked rifles. This is a pretty good move, making it a little harder for the Spanish to react. The fight goes pretty good for the Incas, and they wipe out all of the Spanish guys. The two white fathers get into a fight, and Howard runs away. Kent catches him, but a lone Spanish fighter jumps on Kent. While Kent is winning that fight, the Inca warriors run after Howard. When they return, Kent asks what happened to Howard, and a spear thrown into the sand is the reply. Kent and Christine say goodbye to their new friends, and the city is protected until the next white guy comes along. As they leave, Christine asks what will happen next, and Kent says he will turn in his new book with a dedication to his wife, Christine.
What happens when we get back to Lima, Kent?
There's a plane leaving for New York. The book's almost finished. Just the last chapter in dedication. I'm anxious to get it to my publisher personally.
This is the last chapter, I know. What about the dedication?
Got it all worked out.
To my dear wife, Christine, without whose help and inspiration this book never could have been written. And signed, the author.
World famous short summary. Couple goes on extended first date. Thank you for listening. You can find our show on iTunes by searching for Nantan Lupan or Classic Movie Reviews. There are links to all other media like Facebook, Twitter, Stitcher, etc. at snarkymoviereviews.com and in the podcast notes. You can really help the podcast by subscribing and leaving iTunes reviews. Beware the Moors.